We're going to do a super fast, straight to the point rookie dynasty rankings video. Let's go. What's going on, fantasy football fans? I'm your host, Hussein the Brain, and you're watching The Couch. These are my 2022 Dynasty Fantasy Football Rankings Rookie Edition. Let's jump right into the rankings. The written form of these rankings can be found on my website, fantasycouch.com. Also, link below in the description. I separated these rankings into tiers, and I think tiers are pretty important because if I feel a certain way about a player and you feel a certain way about a player, that's totally fine. If you want to draft them one or two spots ahead, but having tiers helps us classify what's going on. And I want to go over some details here, why I rank some guys super high, why I rank some guys super low, and certain players are more fitting for long-term thought, rebuilding mode, and certain players are more for win now mode or show me what you can do this year and next year. So with tier one, I want to start off talking about the two top tier running backs, Breece Hall versus Kenneth Walker. For me, it's a no-brainer to go get Walker at his value. I think it's very close between those two, but why do most people have Breece Hall ranked number one overall in rookie rankings? It's because he's very safe, very high floor, kind of similar to Najee Harris. It's more of a can't miss type of thing. I know there was a lot of talk about, oh, he's going to the Steelers, it's a bad O-line, but overall we knew that was a complete back, a good solid back, and that's kind of who Breece Hall is. I prefer Najee Harris, but just to give you a comparison, Kenneth Walker is going to a team that is totally rebuilding, that just kind of gave up this year, gave up Russell Wilson, and they're going to probably go draft a really good running back the very next year. But I like Kenneth Walker more because he has more upside, because he is slept on. People don't think he can catch passes, but matter of fact, he caught 64 passes in high school, and he didn't catch any passes in college, but the very last year of his college career, when he transferred, he actually caught 13 passes. I think he can catch. I think give him about 1 or 2 years. Within 1 or 2 years, he's going to be a receiving running back. Okay, with all that risk and those questions you have, it's okay. He's not as safe as Breece Hall, but I love him at his value. Sure, he's going around the 3rd overall pick in rookie draft, sometimes fall into the 6th overall pick. Rare occasion going number 1 or number 2. Sure, that's the case, but for his value, I like Kenneth Walker. For wide receivers, I think it's no question it should be Treylon Burks. He has a great landing situation. He has the most upside. He's going to be a perfect fit for this heavy play action Titans team. Absolutely love him. A little bit of a surprise coming in at number 3. I have him ranked, only 1 spot ahead of the consensus? That shocks me. The consensus sucks. That's what's going on, or people haven't done their rankings. I don't know what's up with that. But Jameson Williams to me is probably the best draft pick you can make in rookie drafts if you're thinking long term. So for my rebuilding / tanking dynasty team, I took Jameson Williams 3rd overall. Maybe you don't want to do that, but if you are tanking rebuilding, I would recommend drafting him as high as number 3. I wouldn't take him over Treylon Burks, and if I had the 1st overall pick, I would trade down like I did. Number 5, Garrett Wilson, elite wide receiver. Not a great landing spot. I don't have a lot of faith in the Jets. A lot of things have to go right. Corey Davis has to disappear really soon. Zach Wilson has to be like a top 9, top 10 quarterback. And all this could happen for sure. And if it does, Garrett Wilson will be a stud. But I'm a little bit more down on him than most. Kind of a big surprise here. I got Sky Moore coming in at number 6. I think the experience maybe not there, but when I see this guy on film, he pops. He's only 5'10", but he plays a lot taller. Reminds me a little bit of Steve Smith. Reminds me a little bit of Odell Beckham. He has the speed. He can go and get it. Good route runner, and the landing spot is great. Sure, Juju Smith-Schuster is the wide receiver to get this year in redraft, but in Dynasty, Sky Moore could easily be the wide receiver one within 1 or 2 years, maybe even this year. Unlikely, but it could happen. And his quarterback is Patrick Mahomes. I want to emphasize that, and Patrick Mahomes is not going anywhere. He's staying in KC, and Sky Moore is probably staying in KC for the next few years. I have my doubts with Drake London, and let's start off with his pros and cons. Pros, he's a great catcher when it comes to contested catches. He can bully DBs at the point of attack, you know, kind of like an Antonio Gates or these other basketball tight ends that are really good, but he is a wide receiver. That's his cons. Not a lot of speed, not a lot of separation. Sure, he'll be able to dunk over some of the smaller corners in the NFL, but these corners are a little bit better, a little bit bigger. Maybe you put a versatile safety on Drake London. I get why the Falcons drafted him. It's going to be mismatches when you have both Drake London and Kyle Pitts on the field, but I just can't get behind it. And also, he's on the Falcons. If you combine Marcus Mariota and Desmond Ridder, you might be able to get one mediocre quarterback at best. And so I'm staying away from Drake London. I wouldn't hate taking him if he fell to number 7, but that's never going to happen. So I guess I'm off the Drake London train. If you want upside, then that's going to be Christian Watson. He has the opportunity to be the wide receiver 1 this year for the Green Bay Packers. My only real knock on Christian Watson, other than he is risky, low floor, is that Aaron Rodgers is getting older. He says he contemplates about retiring all the time, and he is going to retire soon. That might be in 4 years. Don't think it's going to be much after that. It could be in 1 year. It could be in 2 years. You don't know. I don't know. So shut up. Don't tell me you know, because you don't. And that's my main concern with him. The Packers do need a good backup, because once Rodgers is off the team, then there's going to be a huge fall off. Like, this whole team is Aaron Rodgers, and I don't want Christian Watson if he's not paired up with a great quarterback. But that's how much I like this guy's upside that I'm putting him in tier 1. We're going to tier 2, baby. Number 9, I got Chris Olave, ranked a couple spots lower than the consensus. He was the 3rd best wide receiver on his college team, and he's the 3rd best wide receiver right now on the Saints, and he doesn't have a top 10 quarterback. Is Jameis Winston a top 20 quarterback? I think so. But I mean, that's still a question. So yeah, he's got like a top 15, top 20 quarterback, maybe. But he doesn't have an elite one, right? He doesn't have Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes throwing him the ball. And I'm just not a fan. I liked Sky Moore more as a prospect before the draft happened and we got to know what teams they landed on. And at number 10, we have my first big sleeper. Alec Pierce has the size to catch the touchdowns. The Colts got an upgrade at quarterback, went from Wentz to Matt Ryan, and there's not that much pressure on Alec Pierce. There is some pressure, but then we also have Michael Pittman to take off some of that pressure. So there is a number 1. Alec Pierce will be the number 2 option in the pass game, and I'm including all positions: tight ends, running backs, wide receivers. Alec Pierce is the number 2 guy in this pass game on this offense, and you can get him super cheap. You can get him in the middle of the 2nd round in rookie drafts, sometimes late 2nd round, but not if people know what they're doing. I don't think he'll fall that far, but middle of 2nd round is where he's going. By the way, again, fantasycouch.com if you want to see the written rankings. I'm going to skip through just a little bit more. David Bell, I'm a little surprised people rank him as high as me. I only got to rank 1 spot ahead, and I just love the landing spot. If he's going to be tied to Deshaun Watson, who hopefully doesn't get suspended for like 2 years, he's going to ball out. Had a bad combine, but that's about it. He's really good player, and he was hands down like the only option on that team in college, and defenses always knew that, and they still couldn't stop him. Moving on to tier 3, I got Jalen Tolbert ranked 4 spots ahead of the consensus. He's tied to Dak Prescott. Michael Gallup is injured, and his only competition right now is James Washington. I do like Tolbert as a long-term option and a short-term option. Here are 2 really good handcuffs, quote-unquote sleepers right now: Isaiah Spiller and Hassan Haskins coming in at 18, and then Haskins at 19. But look at the difference here is where they're being drafted. Number 16 overall, Isaiah Spiller, versus number 33 overall, Hassan Haskins. Make sense to me. Yes, Spiller can catch the ball and he can do it all, but Haskins is no slouch. They're both above average running backs, and if anything were to happen to Derrick Henry, Hassan Haskins could be the most valuable handcuff in fantasy. I think he'll be a top 5 running back if you have him and Derrick Henry were to go down. D'Onta Foreman's not on the team anymore. So for value's sake, I like Haskins more. I still like Isaiah Spiller, but he's just a little bit more than a handcuff. When the Chargers have a huge lead or something like that, it's a blowout game, then you might get some kind of flex play out of Isaiah Spiller, but overall, he's a handcuff. Same thing with Hassan Haskins. Overall, he is a handcuff, but a really good one and a really good fit because he's better than D'Onta Foreman after he had the injury, and also he's pretty much exactly like Derrick Henry, but not anywhere as good. But he plays just like Derrick Henry, one cut, north and south runner, and above average, and that's really all it takes to be a great handcuff. When the first string running back goes down, the second string running back produces almost every time. A lot of people hate Tyquan Thornton just because he ran a great 40 time. I think he's a pretty good wide receiver. He'll probably be really inconsistent when it comes to fantasy football though, but I do see him starting day one. I do see him running routes, helping out this offense, making it fly more, and that's what really matters. Expect a lot of inconsistency though, more of a best ball pick. Yes, people do play Dynasty best ball, and Tyquan Thornton would be pretty sexy in those formats. Tyler Algier has a small cult-like following. It's not that big, and wow, I have him ranked 3 spots ahead of the consensus, so I guess I don't hate him too much. He will be the RB1 if you don't count Cordell Patterson, but he is a below average running back, so for Dynasty, he is easily replaced. I see him being the number 2 or number 3 running back in a year, so temper expectations. He's more of a depth piece, and if you're rebuilding, do not go for Tyler Algier at all. I'd rather have you draft a wide receiver like the guy I ranked 23, Calvin Austin, who is absolutely amazing, the most agile wide receiver in the draft, but he is kind of small, so there is one concern there. He's only 5'8", but this guy does pop on film, and he is only going to be like the wide receiver 4 right now, probably take over that Ray McCloud role. Ray went to the 49ers, but that role might grow a little bit. Maybe Claypool's off the team, maybe some things happen, maybe George Pickens kind of sucks. So Calvin Austin, yeah, he's risky, but when you take him in round 4, where's the risk, right? He's going like early round 4, late round 3, something like that in rookie drafts, and there's just a bunch of scrubs that late, so it's absolutely worth it at that price. Another sleeper we have, oh my god, Kyle Phillips. I ranked it 27 spots ahead of the consensus. Yes, this is a run-heavy team, but there's really not a lot of competition. Kyle Phillips could easily be the number 2 wide receiver day 1, maybe the number 2 option in the pass offense by year 2, something like that. Pro comp, Hunter Renfrow. Look, may not work out, but he's going like round, like almost undrafted. Like, come on. Trust me, this is definitely worth taking a flyer on. If he ends up being like Hunter Renfrow, it's going to be amazing. Look at that price tag. Come on. Jahan Dotson is a decent prospect, but I was never big on him. And then he lands on Washington Commanders. This team is known to screw up their draft capital. Oh, but look at the draft capital. Look at where he was drafted. Yeah, I could say that with like every single Washington draft pick. They seem to screw it up a lot. And look, this is one that I might regret, but I don't have rookie fever. I don't need to draft every rookie in this 2022 draft class. The draft class isn't really that great. Might be great for NFL teams, but I don't think it's that amazing for fantasy. Get in and get out. You don't have to draft every single rookie, and Dotson is one that I will be avoiding. One of my favorite running backs is Pierre Strong. I was like, this guy's going to be a sleeper. He can do it all. I love the way he runs, but it's the worst landing spot. He's going to be in a committee forever. Sure, he'll probably pop 1 year, like 2024, then just like every other Patriot running back, he will just fade away. So yeah, I mean, you could draft him at his price, which is great, but it's going to be a committee for life, man. Next year, Damian Harris is probably not on the team. That's all I can really say. And then at number 33, we have Trey McBride, the number 1 tight end in Dynasty, or what most people think. Here's my advice. If you want this guy, which, look, he can pop soon as Zach Ertz retires or is no longer on the team. That's very likely, but that's probably not going to be this year. So don't draft him. Wait a year or two and trade for him. You remember Mike Gesicki? He was a bust for like the first couple years. You couldn't even trade him away, not even for a bag of M&Ms. And now Mike Gesicki's all of a sudden a good tight end. So do that with Trey McBride. Don't draft him. Don't waste the roster space unless you're in like a tight end premium league and you're tanking. Then that's fine. Other than that, I wouldn't draft too many tight ends, or at very least, don't reach for any tight ends this year. I'll put it like that. Make sure you guys subscribe to this YouTube channel. We also have a second YouTube channel called Fantasy Couch Podcast. Subscribe to that as well. Complete rankings, of course, again, written down on my website, fantasycouch.com. We'll be doing mock draft Mondays every Monday night live right on here. Catch you on the next video.